Now, whether capital punishment should be finally abolished has been debated for years, as if its margin of error isn't enough to finally do away with the practice. Case in point, Ladell Lee. The state had 8 men lined up to execute in 11 days before their supply of lethal injection drugs expired. Lee was the first. He was on death row for the 1993 murder of his neighbor, a crime Lee maintained from his arrest to his execution that he never committed. Fast forward to last year, after lawsuits from the Innocence Project and the ACLU, the city of Jacksonville allowed new tests to be done on fingerprints and DNA evidence from the crime scene. It revealed DNA from another man, including DNA on the murder weapon and the bloody shirt wrapped around it. Joining me now to discuss is VNC's legal contributor and veteran prosecutor Paul Henderson. All right, Paul, this is such a tragic case, and unfortunately, it's not a unique one. This is precisely why the death penalty should just be abolished. But there's a trend when it comes to people of color. What are the racial disparities when it comes to wrongful convictions and the death penalty?
Well, there's a lot of disparities, and that's the big part of this problem, because 43% of all of the executions have been for people of color. And these are stats that folks can find very quickly with the ACLU. And even currently, we have 55% of death row is made up of people of color. That's a real problem. There are countless studies that have shown us again and again. One of them that I think is really interesting from North Carolina, which balanced both charges and sentences, found that it's 3.5 times more likely for the defendant to get death penalty if they are black and not white. And so it shines the light on this case in particular, where the governor in this case said that the jury found them guilty based on the evidence that they had. And that was his response to finding out that the DNA showed that it was someone else that likely committed the offense. That's a rationalization, not a justification. There's so much new technology out there now as it refers to both fingerprints and with DNA evidence, that shining the light on the race disparities tied to the lack of focus to address these concerns is a real problem. That's the issue. It's race. We just have to say it, and we just have to deal with it and review all of this.
The fact that the state can get this wrong, it is precisely why this needs to be abolished. The death penalty, you know, the margin of error, if you even get one person executed that possibly could be innocent, like Mr. Lee here, why? This reminds me of the urgency with which death penalty opponents are putting on Joe Biden to just basically do an executive order and do away with it on the federal level at the very least.
That's absolutely correct. And one of the things that Biden had promised folks is that he was going to address and try and do away with the death penalty and, interestingly enough, incentivize states to do it as well, because they can act at the federal level, but he wants to incentivize states. And I presume that what that means is he will make it financially incentivized for them to do away with it. It is very expensive to keep folks on death row for any period of time dealing with all of the appeals. It's a really high cost. Recently, the Democrats in just January unveiled a legislative plan addressing the death penalty, and we have to wait and see where that goes. But it's a real problem. The promises have been made, and at this point, we're waiting to see how the parties move forward with a legislative agenda to address death penalty. So it's going to be very interesting, I think, particularly from the federal level, because surprisingly, if you look at the source and the pipeline of where the highest percentage of minorities are going placed on death row, the highest source of that is the U.S. military. 86% of the minorities on death row are coming from there. And then there's a couple of surprising states as well, or not surprising. Colorado, Louisiana, and Pennsylvania all have over 70% in terms of measuring percentages of minorities placed in death row. So this is an issue that the federal government can lead upon, but states can certainly take action as well to make sure that they are addressing the race disparate outcomes associated with the death penalty. That's a key problem.
And what about the incentivizing states to actually go through their DNA, right? There's always you always hear stories about this backlog of DNA. I remember when I was working for the DA's office in Dallas, the DA himself created this unit to go and re-examine cases that had DNA that hadn't been tested, and therein lied so many of the exonerations for people that had been convicted and sitting and lamenting in prison for something they didn't do. Why is it that not enough states are saying, let's go and actually test the DNA that hasn't been tested, i.e. this case for Lidell? What is the issue with testing DNA when it's actually being, if you're getting DNA, why are you not testing it is my point.
Yeah, well, look, UT, don't ask me to defend those decisions, but let me tell you why that I think they're going to say is that there's a cost associated with them. But right now, that is where the real incentive is to figure out who needs to move forward in terms of collecting that information and testing that information.
Paul,
process, yeah.
You just mentioned, I'm sorry, but you mentioned cost. This man literally died. He was killed by the state. And so that is the highest cost, right? Paid. So yes, spend your thousands of dollars in the event that you're actually sending someone to their death and they haven't done anything. I'm sorry, continue.
You are correct. And even one is too high a cost. But that leads us to, what do we do now? Now that we know that this has taken place, and this is not the first one. This is not the first time this has happened. But now that we know, the next move for all of us is to incentivize, to reach out and to make these demands, expand the Innocence Project, to speak out to your local prosecutors to make sure that they are reviewing old cases and testing with the new technology, the fingerprint evidence, the DNA evidence that we talked about. The cost is not an issue, but the motivation and the demands to our prosecutorial systems, to our justice system to take these tests, to uncover these results is the real issue. And beyond just the death penalty, the race disparities in our justice system demand that this work be done. That's the real issue and the ultimate issue, that there is not a direct correlation with those demands from these cases. And that's where we need to be. That's what we need, because the only recourse now, as you said, he's already gone. He's been executed. There could be a civil lawsuit, but that does not bring him back. And even if you look for criminal charges, there's still some big impediments for proving intent and scienter and the qualified immunity challenges that we have. The bigger issue in terms of addressing this problem is looking for policy and legislative solutions that speak to capturing, uncovering all of the cases that don't have best evidence, and addressing race disparities in the sentencing, the charging, and the outcomes for death penalty. That's the answer. We already know it. We just have to take action. And this is not something that we can afford to sit by on the sidelines waiting, which is why there's so much of a demand for, at the federal level, for the feds to take action, for the Biden-Harris administration to move on this. But we don't need to wait on that either, because we can be making these same demands with our local prosecution and with our state elected officials as well, to make sure that they know and understand that now that we know and that we understand the race disparities and the challenges of not having best evidence, even in old cases, there has to be an action, and there is a solution to this. We just have to be bold enough to take it, especially because of the impact, disparate impact on communities of color. That's just the truth.
Well, you answered my last question about what we can do as citizens on the local level to change things. But what does the Lee family now do? What are the next steps in this case?
You know, I expect a civil lawsuit. And that's a preponderance of evidence standard that they will have against the state. And I don't see much more recourse for them. I mean, trying to get criminal charges out of this is really difficult because of the qualified immunity that not just law enforcement has, but the prosecutors have as well. So you have a really high standard to show that they acted willfully with intent to either hide evidence or not bring forward evidence that may not have existed at that time. The real challenge, like we talked about before, is looking back in hindsight and saying, why wasn't this evidence tested once you had the technology to do so, to prove, affirm, or disprove that we have the right on death row. And that was not done. And so at this point, I think the recourse is, like I said before, a policy and legislative solution and action at a local level to specifically for communities of color.